Hi folks, long time no see. It's been over a year since we've done a live video, mostly due to the topic that we have in hand tonight, and try to enlighten everyone and clear up some confusion, or at least help to get through some bits and pieces. I'm just sort of going to loiter here for a second to see if anyone joins me, and hopefully going to be able to see if there's any comments and stuff like that coming up too. It's coming on connection being a bit weird. Alright, we'll play it by ear because we've just had a big storm here, so we're slightly snowed in. Anyway, what we're going to try and cover tonight is clearing up a lot of the confusion around CBD, cannabidiol. What is it? What happened with pet relief, and therefore us, apart from losing over half of our business last year thanks to the government and their confusion and ignorance, shall we say. Those of you who know me know that I am a complete truth seeker, and I'm quite happy to blow the whistle on this. Yeah, if I'm dead, someone come and get the horses. I am not worried about that. Basically, when it comes to any four-legged creatures out there, most of you know that I care about them more than myself, for that matter. But because of that, there's a lot of stuff that really needs to be exposed or brought to the light for you, the pet owner, who is doing your best to give Fluffy a good life. And get the best supplements, best food, best activities, best advice. And a lot of that is really going by and by the wayside, which is incredibly shocking and very saddening to me. Over the past year, with stuff that's gone on, we've really had our eyes opened as to how corrupt this industry actually is. And I suppose in this day and age, it's no different than any other one. But oh well, we do what we do. We'll keep on shouting the truths from the rooftops. But let's go into this whole CBD debacle and what is it all about, what's going on. A lot of you don't even know what it is. You've heard maybe it mentioned. You go, oh, it's all legal now, what's the fuss? Well, alright, let's get into it. CBD is cannabidiol. Basically, it's a substance that's found to various degrees in various plants. The highest concentration found in hemp, and that's fully matured hemp. Not the seeds. The biggest confusion out there at the minute is a lot of people are being sold hemp seed oil with just that little 4-letter word removed, the seed, and therefore thinking they're getting hemp oil, which has all the goodness and the CBD in it. Not true. Hemp seed oil has been legal in Canada for eons, and all of our hemp farmers in the country have been growing plants specifically and only for the stalks that can be used as fibers and in clothing and things like that, or ground down for flour for the seeds, the oil that's pressed. You can buy it in the grocery store, health food store, wherever you want. They were never allowed to process their biomass, and what the biomass is basically the rest of the plant. So you've got the flowers, the branches, the leaves, the buds, whatever else. And basically it's only those components of the plant, whenever they're actually pressed or ground or whatever way they're processed, to release the oils, that's where you'll find the CBD. It's a bit like saying, okay, well, I'm going to get all my vitamin C and just eat orange seeds. It doesn't happen like that. Unless the orange is actually grown and produced from the tree from after the seed's done all its work. That's where you get the vitamin C. You don't get it from the seed. It's the same with hemp seed. You don't get CBD in it. The genetic information contained in that seed will tell a producer or a licensed grower, or even with the pot people now being able to grow their own up here, the actual seed contains that genetic information. It tells you what your outcome is going to be whenever that plant's mature. So it'll give you your THC content for the likes of the marijuana growers, and it'll give you your CBD content as well. So that's where you're finding a lot of the stuff out there through your licensed cannabis suppliers telling you, oh, it's a high CBD concentration, or it's this, that, or the other thing. But you actually only get a high CBD concentration in a marijuana plant where it already has a higher THC content than is safe for pets. So, the difference being, your industrial hemp over here, which was only the seeds and the stalks that were produced or being allowed to be used, that's where the CBD will come from if it's in the seed to start with. But, okay, I'm getting myself caught up here because somebody's trying to type. Oh, there we go. Oh, somebody's watching. Hello. Sorry, okay. THC is in the marijuana plant over 3% or 0.3% or 3 parts per million, whichever way you want to read it. Most of the industrial hemp that's being processed to produce the CBD that we're getting for our pets in the US, and indeed pet relief that we were getting in, has got less than 0.1%. So it's a very, very tiny amount. And anything under that 0.3% or 3 part per million is basically allowed to be the content in industrial hemp. Anything that's over that percentile becomes classed as marijuana. Now, the thing is, both of those have the same genus. So they're under the same umbrella, which is cannabis. So you've got the whole umbrella. It's like saying, okay, I've got an orange here that's absolutely fine, but say this lemon, oh, it's got cocaine in it. Well, we're going to regulate them all because they're citrus. That's the easy way to put it. Now, whenever the Cannabis Act came into force, all this stuff went haywire. Before we started with our pet relief, there was a lot of grey areas, confusion even then. It's like, can we bring this stuff in? Are we allowed to do this? So I called and discussed this with Health Canada. At that time, they were telling me, oh yeah, it's fine. Because number one, it's from hemp, so therefore it's no psychoactive value to it. And number two, it's for pets, so you're fine. It's only the people stuff that's regulated. Well, that wasn't the case. We have all of our light reading that we got into whenever we got stopped with a rather large shipment of our pet relief products in August of 2018. We were then stopped and refused, and they tried to claim at the border that we had never been through that border before. Funny enough, I had actually my files with me just because, in case there was any issues, I could prove that I have the documentation. I've been through here before with the same stuff. I still have my folder here with all of that in because I've been showing it to various different people and MPs. Anyway, they said, no, you can't do it. It's got CBD in it. And we go, yeah, we know it's got CBD in it, but it's not got THC in it, so it's all right. They're like, no, it's not. So after a lot of discussion, confusion, arguments, being hauled into the back of the border into the interrogation office, which was just lovely, they let us go and let us return our shipment to Pet Relief. Still lost our shirt on it, but there you go. At least we weren't in jail, and we got some of our compensation back. So we came home, went through everything. We've got the Industrial Hemp Regulations. We've got the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act here. Everything was highlighted, all the rest of it. And then, of course, we also have the Cannabis Act and its regulations that go with it. Just some light reading. So to say that I go into something all the way would be a slight understatement. So it was therefore discovered that, CBD itself was actually classed on the restricted substances list as a Schedule II drug, cannabidiol. Since then, since the Cannabis Act has actually taken over the Industrial Hemp Regulations and the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act and classified those two under the Cannabis Act, they've also added phytocannabinoids to it. Big words, probably confusing a lot of you, and I do apologize for that. But basically the breakdown is that whenever all of this stuff got stopped at the border, some people had always had issues getting stuff through. then suppliers and manufacturers started getting smart to this, and we're like, okay, well, and even in the US before the Farm Bill came into act and things got sorted out a little bit there with the CBD, it was a bit of a grey issue. Some states allowed it, some didn't. So people were already on the duping train, meaning that they were relabeling stuff. They were putting other stuff on labels to try and deceive the powers that be into recognizing the products for what they actually were, and therefore getting away with it. Same thing's been happening in Canada. So what we've been doing over the past year, and quite frankly now this is a beginning of a new year, and I'm done. I'm done doing all this stuff because it's not got me anywhere, and it's not going to get us anywhere. And I'll go into that a little bit more as well. We've gone through that. I've got a few notes to try and keep me on track. Because I fly off on tangents all the time. So, all right, let's see. I've already got that bit done, so I'm doing well. All right. We did an article for Canadian Dogs Magazine, which I did a post yesterday or the day before saying that we were going live. The link to that article is in the post, in the comments of that post. But if you also go onto the CanadianDogs.ca website and go into, I think it's their health section, and look up the articles that were done. It was published on the 1st of November last year, 2019. And that covered quite a lot of things. The links and everything are also in there. And also link to the Cannabis Compliance Office reporting form, which we filled out lots and lots and lots. Because put it this way, if we're the ones who are full disclosure, complete transparency, all about the education, and we can't get the stuff in, then I'm damned if anybody else is going to as well. But they are. And no matter how much we try to argue with politicians, with Health Canada, and indeed the Compliance Office, it seems like there's so much uneducation out there, and there's not a lot of people wanting to educate because a lot of people are getting a lot richer by duping the general public. And I don't like that. I don't care if you get duped into buying a car that really doesn't suit your needs, but I do care whenever you get duped into buying a product that you're going to trust someone to give your pets, which could potentially either be harmful or you're basically just getting ripped off. So it's kind of a grey area, and what's the answer to it? The only answer is for me to help you be smarter in your choices and what you're purchasing out there. It's basically been proven that the RCMP are not following up on these. We don't have the luxury, if you like, of having a lot of boots on the ground in Canada. So lots of these companies know rightly they're getting away with this stuff. I know personally of one who was issued a stop sale in June, and they still have it on their shelves. And another brand as well to go with it, because basically they don't care. And they know that they're going to get away with it because nobody's going to do anything. And even though the Cannabis Compliance Office has, replied dozens of times and forwarded files onto the RCMP aren't following this up. Apparently, they're too busy doing other things, which is fine. Fighting crime is one, but yeah, fighting crime when people are selling illegally classed as illegal drugs, that would be part of it, in my opinion. But who am I? Anywho. The legalities of the whole thing, everybody's going, you're talking rubbish, this is legal. Yeah, you know what? The Cannabis Act came into force October the 17th, 2018. Yeah, I'm getting lost with my dates here. Anyway, and that's fine. It said, yeah, it's legal, but you need a license to do it. It's like driving. Driving is legal, but you need a license to be able to do it. Hi Crystal. And basically there's lots of people out there selling it without licenses. Now every province is also different with this. I know Ontario had a lottery system where people were able to apply for lotteries to get a ticket to say that they were allowed to sell it. There was some people that actually did this that were literally 2 blocks from each other, some who were doing it and they didn't even have a business. So they had a certain amount of time, they had to actually come up with a business and open doors to use this. So it was a bit of a nightmare. And that didn't stop the ones who were still doing it under the counter. We attended PIJAC, we had our PJAC. We had a booth there with our Finessium Health and our CBD alternative to try and educate people, because we also had a nice little handout with us. I don't know whether that comes up the right way or the wrong way, being on screen. Might be backwards. But basically it's called All About Cannabidiol, or CBD in brackets, and it is actually produced by Health Canada. So I mean, even a Google search will bring that up as well. That's also been posted, the link to that on our page and on that last comment too. This is a struggle. I'm just reading a comment here. I'm seeing if I can. Hi there, this is a struggle. Yes, hopefully one day we will win. Yeah, I hope so too, Sue. However, there is an end in sight, but it's not one that we are going to be incredibly happy about. And I'll go into that as well. But basically, I had this little document with me on the booth in Ontario. And as people were coming by, and it was reported to the people who organized the show as well, and they said if it had been brought to their attention, they would have told them to remove their booth and their products immediately. I don't believe that for a minute. They are in it for the money, just like a lot of other people are, and they'd sold their booth space and they got their money, and they clearly don't even research what companies they're selling booths to. There was a distributor there who was openly selling CBD. There was another company there who was selling CBD who, quite frankly, was being laughed at because apparently they didn't even know their extraction method. So people are getting smarter. They know what they're asking for. At least a lot of retailers who have been keeping their finger on the pulse, as it were, and trying to keep up to date with what's going on. It's not getting any clearer. Health Canada are being duped left, right, and centre. And manufacturers know this. Retailers, some of them do, a lot of them don't. And I'm going to give a lot of credit to some people out there who are unwittingly selling these products because they think, well, if I can buy it from my distributor, it must be fine. However, the distributor is distributing it illegally. And as I sort of touched on a second ago, basically we don't have the boots on the ground here because they have people in the US from the Department of Agriculture who are literally doing spot checks in stores on a very regular basis. And if that bottle that they pick up doesn't have the correct wording or information on it, the companies are contacted and either stopped or told to change. In that other post about this, there was an article that I did actually put in there in the comments about the 15 companies who had been actually told to stop selling. Because a lot of companies are still making claims and saying that it can treat certain conditions. Any product that you put out on the market, unless it's got an approval from the FDA or Health Canada, you cannot make any claims. And actually, unless it's a pharmaceutical drug, even then you have to be careful as to what claims you can say it does or what it can treat. There's certain wording that has to be correct. Even with our colloidal silver that we've had approved with Health Canada now, we can't say that it can be used to treat anything. So it's the most blanket, airy-fairy statement out there that you can come up with. And the problem is the products that are on the market that actually do something good can't say that unless they've got a big million, billion, trillion dollar pharma company behind them doing all their marketing and advertising. So it's very, very deceiving. It's very hard for you as a consumer to know what you're getting, what you're buying. A lot of, as I say, people selling this stuff don't even know what they're selling. They're selling it because they're being asked if they have it to sell. So they're bringing it in from wherever they can find it. But they're not being educated by the people supplying to them. Why? Well, because then they wouldn't buy it, because they'd know A, it's illegal for them to stick on their shelves, and B, unless they can see a third-party lab test to know that the actual product is what it says it is, then it's not going to be of any benefit for them to bring it in and sell it, because it's probably garbage, could be toxic, like could be full of heavy metals. Most of the stuff coming into this country, how is it still coming in, is basically coming from either the US or from Europe, and there is some isolates coming through from China because it's coming in as a powder. So basically, how is it getting across the border? because people are lying on the classification forms. And unless they had full labs at the Border Services Agency and they decided to test them, who's going to find it? So this isn't going to stop anytime soon. What drove me to finally do this video, because I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired about this whole issue. I felt so bad last year whenever we couldn't bring it in anymore, couldn't do it. We spoke to various MPs, we spoke to Health Canada, I have a direct line to the Cannabis Compliance Office, and I just felt terrible because I had got a lot of people on this, and a lot of retailers were buying this from us as well. And then we were told that no, it was illegal the whole time. I did actually get an apology from Health Canada whenever I said that the information that I was given was obviously incorrect and I should never have been allowed to bring it in the first place. And they apologized. I said, you guys created this mess. And she agreed with me that, yep, they did. The only thing that's going to change is that if actual policy is going to change in Canada, where the CBD is removed from the Cannabis Act, or industrial hemp is removed from Cannabis Act, therefore the restrictions are alleviated. However, it's not that simple. We were on a phone conference, like a group invite with DVM, which is the veterinary product people, and basically they have started the preliminary studies or investigation or survey to see how that they would manage a product that didn't actually have to be under vet supervision to be administered. In other words, vets want to sell this stuff. The vets know that there's benefits in CBD, but that all has to be approved through Health Canada before anybody can sell it. So what they're looking at doing is getting it approved after they have some studies done. Now, why they can't look at the studies that have already been done by the University of Colorado, Cornell, I don't know. But they're basically just spinning their wheels, I think, and trying to make some time. Rather than just getting on with it, because the whole thing is a complete mess. Anybody who is involved with the whole cannabis industry will also tell you that it's a complete mess. Most people still don't know what is going on with the human side of stuff, never mind the pets. There's also a big problem as well where people are buying human grade stuff now at the licensed sellers. Nova Scotia here, it's only the NSLC. So yeah, those pet stores aren't allowed to. And then they're thinking that, oh, well, if it's a high CBD, I can give this to my pets, it's safe. But again, it's medical marijuana that all this stuff's being extracted from. So that's going to have too high a THC level, which could potentially be fatal for your animal. Is that an overextension? No, that's not an over-exaggeration at all, actually, because I've spoken with a lot of vets and they've had more cases come in with static ataxia since this whole legalization than they had ever seen before. And what static ataxia is basically people giving their pets these products that the THC level is still too high. So basically they're making their animal stoned. Now, when an animal is stoned, it doesn't understand what that feeling is. So it will actually shut down or start to. It will stop drinking and it will stop eating because it is so disorientated, it doesn't know how to function. Whenever you stop drinking as an animal, you basically start to put stress on your livers and kidneys, and it's basically the background to static ataxia. So these pets are going into vets and they're getting hooked up on drips. And it's kind of a catch-22. I mean, the vets aren't going to basically throw these people under the bus because they're getting care for their animals. And that falls under SPCA rules, which that's okay. As long as you're showing that you're caring for them, you're all right. They also aren't going to open up to how many people are going to then get charged. Are they? But it's legal for people. Oh, the pet just accidentally let it fall into its mouth. Whatever. It's just another absolute nightmare, waste of time scenario, whatever you want to call it. It's not where the focus is. The focus isn't even where it should be, because they've come out with these laws and our wonderful government in its infinite wisdom haven't had the education behind it to the powers that be, or to the agencies who are supposed to be coping with these issues. So nothing's being followed through with. So that's why I'm saying the only thing that we can do, or you can do, is actually try and educate people on what they're buying, what they're getting, and that includes the retailers who are unwittingly bringing this stuff into their stores from these unscrupulous distributors. Unless you can see a third-party lab test showing that it's clean, because the stuff coming in from China is basically full of heavy metals. The stuff coming in from Europe, it's mostly Eastern Europe, and that stuff's being grown in Russia, which, sounds okay until you see what part of Russia is it being grown around. It's being grown around Chernobyl, because hemp is the biggest bioremediation plant on the planet, and that means it cleans the soils. So if you've got like an oil spill or something on a piece of land, you want it cleaned up, grow some hemp. It's going to suck it all out of there. Where is it ending up? In the plant. Where's the plant ending up? Oh, in the North American market, making it into hemp products and CBD products for your pets. Really? Unless you see those lab results, you don't know if that's not true. So the people who can't give you that, don't buy it. The people who can't give you their extraction methods, don't touch it. The FDA in the US, whenever this was all becoming popular a few years ago, they issued a warning saying that some people were actually using paint thinner to extract this. Now, lots of people use alcohols, they use butanes, ethanols, all sorts of stuff to do extractions from these plants. And a lot of people would say, well, by the time it gets to the end user, like, there's such a tiny amount of that, what's the big deal? The big deal is to a 250 pound person, that's not going to make an issue. To a 100 pound person, that's not going to make an issue. To a 3 pound chihuahua, that's going to make an issue. So it's up to you as a pet parent to be more active, actually care. And I'm not saying that nobody's caring about it. The fact is that you didn't even know that there was so much garbage surrounding this to actually have to care about it. And that's the scary thing. We've had lots of communications with the Cannabis Compliance Office. There was another one in particular that we reported, and they said that it wasn't a problem. It was just that they weren't in compliance with their labeling. And I'm like, that's not a labeling issue if the actual content of the actual item contains the CBD. And but it didn't say that from their labeling. Exactly. They're duping you, plain and simple. Why don't you ask for a third-party lab test? And I pushed the issue strong enough that they finally actually got that and came back to me and said, we got that. It's the first time we've ever asked for a third-party lab test, and you were right. It's now been forwarded to the RCMP. That was in June. Company's still selling it. So, for even more proof, and this is what put the nail in the coffin for me, someone sent me some screenshots from a Facebook group the other night. And basically it was quite openly admitted on this thread, even though the person who was discussing it with them seemed to be quite knowledgeable on the actual CBD issue, and asked about the whole getting the certificate of analysis or third-party lab testing, as we call it, from these companies to see stuff. And this person was the owner of one of these companies who makes Canadian CBD products. Well, there's no CBD being grown in Canada, as we mentioned earlier, that has a high enough CBD content in that genetic material, in that seed, to produce anything. So it has to be being brought in. They actually went through further and they said that theirs is coming in from the US or Europe, even though they put on their marketing and their labeling that it's actually produced and grown in Canada. So there's your first lie cut out on. And they admitted this on this Facebook group. They also were saying as well that, what is it here? Canadian companies, in order to protect themselves, do need to stay away from using the term CBD. They mentioned a company who used to be called CBD for Paws, and they changed their name to fly under the radar. It's still a CBD product and it's still out there. Yeah, they basically are just using alternate wording and hope that people are smart enough to read into the name. Okay. If those are your ethics behind these companies that are selling this stuff, all it is greed. All it is to basically get your money. There are so many companies out there that actually have been tested as well, and 70% of the products are being sold online. There was a study done, 70% of them don't even contain CBD that they claim to. And that's for people products as well. So unless you're doing your homework, you don't know what you're getting and whether what you're getting is actually what you're supposed to be getting. Now, the fact is, now the CBD for pets here, there's nothing approved under Health Canada. Go back to that article just to do that bit if you haven't read it already. It says, can I market a natural health product, veterinary health product, or a cosmetic containing CBD? No. That's pretty simple. As they say, only limited parts of cannabis or hemp plants can be used as a medicinal ingredient in a natural health product under the natural health product regulations. The same is true for veterinary health products under the Food and Drug regulations. They can only contain certain parts of the cannabis and hemp plants that are not considered cannabis under the Cannabis Act. In other words, what that means is it has to be under that parts per million or percentile of THC to be classed as industrial hemp, and it can only be from the seeds of the stalks. It can't be made from the flowering plant, and it does go in that article as well. All the parts of the plant, you're not allowed to use it. A lot of other mislabeling and duping has been done as well, where people are using whole plant, or a new one that I just heard of is full plant profile oil. Okay, another word is basically just to get around and dupe Health Canada and the powers that be from noticing that it is actually a full spectrum, because as I say, there's not enough education in the powers that be to understand all of these buzzwords that are basically being branded around and the alternates that these companies are now coming up with to confuse you. So that's great. Basically what's going to happen at the end of the day, what we see is that the regulations are not going to change anytime soon. We spoke with our local MP just before Christmas, and basically, as he said to me, it's going to take years to change policy. At the minute, with the VHP or the vet side of things trying to do their work on it, what I see happening before policy gets changed is perhaps a change to some allowance through Health Canada that a VHP can be registered as a veterinary health product. It may be kept that it's only under the vets, and where it's going to come from, who knows. If it does end up in the hands of the vets, basically that's going to be the same as the UK. At the minute, the UK can only get CBD for pets when it's prescribed by a vet, from my understanding. I was told that just a few days ago because I was checking with some other people who know more than I do. And if it goes that way, well, we're no further ahead. So therefore, Dogs of Pride will never have it in again. Which is very, very sad, because pet relief is basically, in our opinion, and with the proof that we have seen and the usage and the proof and results that we saw as well, it's basically the safest one on the planet, because they can come up with all of their testing and show us what's in that, what's not in it. I went to their farm, saw their processing, saw how it's done, spoke with their head botanist. I mean, they grow it, they make it, they produce it, they do everything. And the owner of Pet Relief is sitting on the hemp roundtable in the US, who is actually instrumental in actually helping the legalities getting sorted out down there. So anyway, this other thing that was sent to me the other day as well basically was saying that they were asked then if their company actually did contain CBD, even though it's not allowed in Canada. And the owner of this company said, publicly, we have to say no. Privately, yes. So you're never going to stop people who are basically just dollar hungry. The education is therefore not going to come from these companies who are selling these products. because they just basically want sales. So their stuff as well is coming from the US and from Europe. So I worry about that. If that so-called Canadian processed CBD company that's bringing their oil in from Europe, I'd certainly like to see a third-party lab test on that to make sure that it's not full of radiation, heavy metals, any other toxicities that are possibly in there. So unfortunately, with Health Canada's not knowing enough about the different buzzwords and everything else, there was another company, just going to touch on it briefly, that they changed their labeling. It used to say CBD and then it went to PCR, which was standing for phytocannabinoid rich, even though they tried to apparently patent PCR as their own term without actually realizing it was already patented as standing for post-consumer recyclables. Anyhow, these are the people that we're dealing with. The Health Canada in their infinite wisdom thought, oh, well, we're going to catch these ones now. We're going to put phytocannabinoids now on the restricted substances list. Showing how much they know, because the amount of foods that you can actually go and buy in your own store and have you in your own kitchen that contain phytocannabinoids are carrots, black pepper, rosemary, and there's lots of other things, oregano, turmeric, all sorts of things actually have different levels of these. So the whole side of the thing is basically working with the endocannabinoid system. There are many substances out there that actually do that work. Instead of jumping all over the CBD craze and realizing that it is actually classed still as illegal to purchase, well, to sell it in Canada, and if that's ever changed through that phone conference that we were part of as well, if and when that does get changed, it's still only going to be the people who are licensed currently to sell those products that are going to be allowed to sell them. So we won't get any farther with it. So unfortunately, there isn't an end in sight on that. All we can do in the meantime is be absolutely ecstatic that our alternative that we've come up with is actually working as well, if not better, than most of the CBD products out there. But I don't know whether this was all a complete garbled mess for most of you. I don't know whether it actually enlightened you or answered any questions. And I'm just wondering if anyone wants to post any questions of that afterwards, then I will answer them for you. But hopefully that helps you clear it up. Bottom line is, CBD products through your pet store, I would avoid them like the plague. And if you are a pet store retailer and you're looking at this supplier or suppliers or various companies who are trying to sideline you and say, oh, it's perfectly legal, oh, it's all fine, it's all great, we put this labeling on it so you don't know what it is. Well, why would you stand in good faith and sell that to your pet owners that are coming into your shop whenever you don't actually know what it is or know the legalities behind it as well? So that's very scary. So any pet owners, please share this far and wide. After I switch off, it will probably then upload as a video onto my Facebook. I may redo a version of it because, yeah, you know me, go off on tangents, might be a bit confusing. If so, I apologise, but hopefully you've got the insight now that the powers that be are not doing anything. So therefore people are still running around going, ha 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 ha, we can sell it all we want, we don't care, we're laughing all the way to the bank. Well, good for them. Put it this way, we will continue to not be promoting any CBD products and basically telling you to avoid them like the plague unless regulations change. And what we'd love to see is everybody comes up to speed and has a level playing field in the country. And that's what pisses me off more than anything else, is because we're full transparency, we're all about the truth, we're all about showing efficacy, keeping our pets safe. And it seems like every other Tom, Dick and Harry out there is just happy or laughing all the way to the bank. I'd rather have a lower bank balance and a comfortable night's sleep than the alternative. But hey ho, it is what it is. Anyhow, thanks for joining us, for those who tuned in, and you'll catch up on this later, and I will see you around. We'll be doing more little videos on products that we do actually sell and can sell, And every Wednesday we're going to feature a product or two and do little blurbs about it. So if there's anything you'd like to see as well, please let us know. And as for now, I'm done, and I'll say good night, sleep well, happy new year, hug your pets closer, and be very careful. Don't get duped. Spend your money wisely. And if it's not having an effect, it's probably hemp seed oil that you could have bought for $5 at the grocery store instead of spending 80 or 90 at some dubious seller who's trying to tell you that it's something that it isn't. Anyway, be safe. Bye.